This is coffee number 5. I'm your host, Lara Schmoisman. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to coffee number 5. And today I was thinking beauty. And well, I'm always thinking beauty because you know that is one of my passions. And I love to talk to beauty experts and entrepreneurs and people that they are leading the trends in this beauty industry. I wonder why or how can we come up with new products, or how could we maintain these trends, and how we make something stick. That's really hard because you need to have a good product, but also you need to make it stick and have a strong brand that is going to go from generation into generation. And so today I invited someone very special. I'm very happy that she said yes. It's Hind Sebti. Thank you so much. I mean, I have your bio here, and it's incredible. You were at L'Oreal, Procter and Gamble. Tell us a little more about yourself, because it's just so much that you did.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Lara. So it's really a pleasure to be here. So I'm Hind. I am Moroccan. I spent all my career in the beauty industry. I started at Procter and Gamble in France, and then I moved to the UK. I'm currently in London, and then I moved on to L'Oreal. So in the span of 20 years of beauty career, I worked on all the beauty categories: hair, skin, makeup, some fantastic brands, both cult brands, smaller cult brands, and big billion-dollar brands. And that passion for beauty led me 4 years ago with my partner and co-founder, Michelle, I will say, to create Waldencast, because we wanted to be even more hands-on beauty and really create with Waldencast what I like to call the home of the independent beauty brands of tomorrow, the one that really connects with the consumers from a brand story, product, and really purpose.
But you mentioned something really important to me. First of all, I love that one of the things that you told about yourself, that you're Moroccan, to embrace who we are, because I really believe that all those experiences, not only being from different cultures, also living in different countries, make us so much richer as a person, and to understand that culture. When I came to this country, I didn't speak a word of English. And a lot of things that people were saying or that they found funny, I didn't. And it took me a long time to realize that you only understand a language or a culture where you can laugh with them.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I call it global citizens, right? You are from somewhere where you belong everywhere when you...
And also what is incredible is that you work with these huge companies, but also what people don't know many times is that these big companies also have small brands.
Indeed, yes.
So can you tell us a little bit, how is the process of having a smaller brand in a company like L'Oreal, or because it's something that you go and you purchase a brand, or you decided in-house that you're going to create a small brand?
So the most common path for big beauty players to have like a small indie brand, like not indie, but a small brand, is they acquire them, right? Because I think often the patience and the skills you need to create a brand from scratch is very different from that to kind of grow and globalize a brand. So the brands I worked on personally that were, I would say, on the cult indie side was Essie, the nail color, and Pureology for hair color, which is also for colored hair, as it happens. Those were two acquisitions that were made by L'Oreal, who saw potential in these brands and took them in-house to globalize them. Most of the source of new cult brands is the independent world, right? We have, we have seen like the majority of the growth in beauty over the last years has been driven by these new brands that are often created independently and then acquired somehow as part of a bigger portfolio.
I don't know if you recently saw an article from Glossier saying that the indie brands are dying, or many of them are going out of business. What do you feel? How do you feel about that? And how does it affect someone like L'Oreal?
The indie brands, you mean specifically?
Yes.
First, I think I haven't read the article, so I cannot comment on it specifically. But the phenomenon is there is a lot of new brands, quote unquote, that are created. I don't think there's a lot of new brands. There are a lot of collections of products. Not every brand is really a brand with a capital B, right? Because a brand in its DNA is something that's going to be here in 100 years. It's not just a collections of products, and we can talk about that later. I think the fact is the growth in the industry is driven by these indie brands, either outside independently or inside a big strategic company like the Layas or the Estee Lauders of the world. I think there has always been a huge attrition rate. Not everybody becomes $100 million brand. The success rate is very small. And I think we talk about the successes in beauty, but we don't talk about the hundreds and thousands of failures. I don't think this has changed massively. I think maybe in numbers, because more people than ever are trying to create new brands and new beauty brands. And I think what helps that is that the cost of entry into beauty has never been as easy. It's very easy to
very
product. You go to contract manufacturing. They love working with indie brands. Before, you had to have your own, facilities. So with very little investment, you can start kind of having some products. And then the e-com, I would say revolution many years ago, enabled brands not to be able to have a huge amount of inventory. They could just sell by being on their website, and they could market on social. So that's changed. What changed is the DTC native brands, because what made them successful 20 years ago, which is basically the various social algorithm and so on, have changed. It doesn't mean that nobody can succeed anymore, and it doesn't mean that indie brands overall are dying. It's just about reinventing your playbook.
I want to make a distinction here, because what you said is something that is very true, that it's very easy to make a beauty brand in these days. But also there are a lot of people that they think having a brand is going and white labeling. That they and will L'Oreal will be interested in buying something that is white label?
Probably not. No.
Okay. That's something I want to clarify, because a lot of people, and I talk to people all the time. I say, okay, you have manufacture. Are you doing R&D? Because that takes a lot of time, and it's not just slapping a label only.
There's two. The way we talk about beauty, we talk about the pyramid of beauty, right? The pyramid of success. Product is super important, mostly important at the beginning, but not over the long term, because in beauty, it's very easy to dupe, right? Because there's no patents and so on. So product is important to establish your brand and also to deliver on the benefits you're promising to consumer. But the most important assets are about your brand, how your brand is unique and different and connects with your consumer. And at the top of that pyramid is what we call the beauty point of view. How does it make me look like? When I close my eyes and I think of, there are maybe 20,000 red lipsticks in the world right now. And I challenge anybody to make a difference between all of them. But however, when you think I am an Yves Saint Laurent woman, or I am, a L'Oréal Paris woman, or I am a Dior woman, you can see which kind of red lipstick you want, because that's beauty point of view that really is a beauty archetype of what the brand makes you feel and aspire to look like is very important. That's the magic, really.
That's on point. That's something that I always talk to my clients, that we are not selling a product itself. We sell the why. We're selling the lifestyle that comes with the product. What you want to achieve. So you were talking about the brands and the collections. Can we go a little deeper into that? Because that's fascinating.
Yeah, because I've been in this job where what we do at Waldencast is we create brands. We have an incubator on one side, but also we invest in brands, and then we acquire bigger brands. So people ask me, oh, does the world need another skincare brand? And I'm like, because everybody's launching beauty brands. And I'm like, first, not everybody's launching beauty brands. People are launching collections of products. And by collections of products, I mean something like I jump on a trend, mono ingredients is trendy right now. We know what consumers want. So let me just try and almost like copy something that exists already and try to have my own brand. But I don't know what those products, to your point, the why this brand exists, which gap does it fulfill? what makes a brand, what gives a brand a reason for existing is like one, for example, in our portfolio win that was very personal to me. I was like, does the world need another skincare brand? No, but does the world need a skincare brand that talks about, sensorial meets experiential, inspired by Morocco and the whole Arab world? There's no brand that talks about beauty point of view of hundreds and millions of people. So we're going to do that because there's nothing like it, right? So that's what I always ask when people come to us for investment or anything like that. It's like, what's your reason for existing as a brand? You can have great sales, but are these sales going to be here in 50 years when somebody are just going to do your products maybe better and cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Let's stay.
There's a legacy there. That's how I
For
see
sure.
it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am creating a legacy. A brand creates a legacy. It creates
Yeah.
a community, and it's not temporary. And when a brand wants to be acquired,
Mhm.
how do you go about that? Because I know everything that you need to, that you guys have a lot of processes in place for acquiring a brand. They need to be, of course, transparency. You need to get a formulation. You need to make sure that they have certain compliance.
Mhm.
If you are a smaller brand that aspires and one day to be acquired, what are
Mhm.
the steps to do? What they need to make sure that they keep in mind?
I think, Jude, from being first, when you create a brand, you need to know the path that you want to be into, right? Do you want to have a brand that you set up to run for the next 25 years, or do you want to have a brand that you want to, you know, sell, which is a completely different type of founders. I learned. I think what most I wouldn't say this is exactly the steps to be acquired. I think when you create a brand that is of value to people, that is incremental to somebody's portfolio, they're going to say, I'm a big strategic like Waldencast, and I'm missing this in my portfolio. That's going to be interesting because of the brand. So I need to invest in the brand and I would say the second thing, one most important thing is the sustainability, the financial sustainability of the brand. I think the most common mistake I have seen in early stage is people coming to creating beauty brands out of passion and they don't look at the unit economics. In our incubator, where we create brand at Waldencast, we create products from the beginning with a focus on cost of goods. Of course, I want to create, a hair brand. I know that my sweet spot is $16. If I want to sell it at $16 because I know that what works for consumers, I need my cost of goods to be X. So then becomes the real know-how of how do you engineer the performance you want, the product, the packaging you want, but also hitting the right cost of goods. Because sometimes brands can be super successful but not make money. And when you look at the cost, you're like, the product is so expensive to make that you will never be able
Yeah,
to.
the margins are crazy. And also, you know that if
Yeah.
you decide to go retail with that brand, you're going to have to sell it wholesale.
Sure. Yeah. And I think it's often has been the most common mistake in digitally native brands because the early P&Ls are based on the e-commerce type of
Yes, exactly.
margin. And then when you go retail, and so we always say, it's almost like the arts and commerce. You need to have a brand that resonates, that your consumer, you build a brand that resonates with them and create your community. And at the same time, have a product that is scalable, right?
Yeah,
That we can,
absolutely.
that it,
And that's a decision you need to have early on to
yeah.
know what's the plan for your brand. Even if you swear that you're not going to go retail because
Uh-huh.
that's not your plan right now, I always say, assume that in the future you might want to.
Yeah. And I think the world evolves so fast today that it would be really the name of the game, what makes indie brand actually successful, what they can do is they can pivot quite quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I think the world is changing so fast, be it in the media channel that we consume, which was all Instagram, and it's TikTok, God knows what's going to be next. So you have to have this flexibility in how you reach your consumers, but also where you retail, be it e-com, be it retailers, be it, B2B, whatever is the business model. And you have to listen to the consumer, right? And the consumers are changing, are evolving, right? So the most important thing is that is being in touch and see how things are going. I remember a few years ago, everybody wanted to launch only digital. Now I read, oh, it's all about retail. Well, the reality is about who is your consumer and where is your consumer. So it will be different from brand A to brand B to brand C, always.
I'm so glad you said that, because this is a everyday conversation that I have. That do you have to be everywhere? Absolutely not. You need to be where your consumer is.
Exactly, yeah. No,
And
it's
what are your thoughts? Because right now there are so many celebrity brands or brands that they think that the only way to scale is working with influencers.
So, two thoughts. I think celebrity brands have had many big successes and many big failures. As I think for us at Waldencast specifically, we want to have brands that are going to be here in 100 years, and often being linked to a celebrity. Is that celebrity going to be relevant in 5, 10, 15 years, right? Because they tend to be trend related. So some celebrities do it really well and build a brand that is much bigger than just about being about them. And that brand then has the potential. So the celebrity is a tool of the brand rather than everything is about the brand, is about them. So we don't do them at Waldencast because we like this, more long-term in 100 years. That would anybody know who so-and-so is? Maybe not, right?
Yeah, and we see brands like Dior or Chanel that they use very iconic figures.
Yeah.
Very unique selected.
Yeah, and they serve a purpose, right? Because the current icons are not the same ones they had 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Before it was all actresses, then it became influencers. Now, the question on influencers, I think it depends on the brand. The beauty influencers have helped build amazing successes in beauty. So again, it depends where where your consumers are. Sometimes we have a brand in our portfolio called Glaze, which is about it's 1.5 years old, but it's all about tinted moisturizer for your hair. It's about hair where you can see the results, but see and feel the results. Because it's almost like makeup for your hair, what was very powerful is before and after. So our most successful tool has been TikTok with, our own consumers and community and also big influencers. So that is a brand that has been driven a lot by influencers organically and paid. On other brands, it's very different. It's about a community. It's about an experience where you create a destination where people want to go and experience a service. So I think when people say that the digital model has been broken, I think it's just that when the e-com boom has started, it was all about the algorithm, right? So everybody thought that the only marketing was that marketing. Well, actually, marketing to consumers is always understanding who is your target, where are they receptive, and to which message, and talking to them. Sometimes it's sampling, when we have a highly sensorial experience on Wind, and our most effective conversion tool is putting our product, our samples in the hands of the right consumers, because that's the type of consumers we're going after. So I think when people ask me, is there one way? I was like, there's no one way. You have to understand and tailor to your audience. And the beauty of being an indie brand is you can also iterate, try, learn, fail quickly, do better.
Absolutely. And also, my concern with indie brands and influencers is normally they need to understand the influencers is just one more tool that create that brand awareness. I haven't seen for indie brands yet that working with an influencer will bring them the return of investment that they were expecting. However, I'm a true believer in content creation and working with individuals. Is either the testing products or working with small scale influencers that I think those drives a little more community.
It depends what the objective is, right? Because I think in my experience, I have seen a few macro influencers. Again, it's the fits. And I think it usually works better when you go, an influencer works above and beyond if they're macro, micro, is if they are fit for your message, right? So if somebody is known for their brows and they speak all the time about their brows and how they are frustrated by, brows or whatever, and you have a brow product that you send them and they love, regardless of, the conversation is genuine and authentic, right? Because you're solving a problem that they have already educated their community on. I care about brows, and finally, here's a product that works. Sometimes when I think it's too much of a mechanical exercise, which is, oh, I need somebody who has X million follower, that is not going to.
Exactly, and that's a point. Is what they're trying to achieve. I believe in giving a gift to an influencer, and if they love it, and they will do amazing for a brand. But however, if you go and select an influencer and just try to pay their price tag, and it's not something that this is just one more product that they're going to be promoting, I don't know how it will work for your brand.
Yeah. And I think in my experience, it's very varied. What I tell my teams or the teams I worked with is, an influencer strategy is, again, who are your consumers? Who are they listening to? And who do they go to for discovering new products? Who do they go to for the latest beauty haul? And I think it's a mix. It's always a mix. It's not black and white, because just in the portfolio of a few brands that we have very different results and different types of activations. But I think what remains true is, of course, content creation and seeing user-generated content and people like me is always a powerful tool for consumers. They want to see how that shade of lipstick, that shade of foundation, that hair product, that skincare product works on somebody that is, what we call, quote unquote, someone like me.
Yeah, someone that you can relate. Also, when you start looking into these new brands that you might be interested in acquiring, how important is the work that they have been doing in brand awareness?
It depends on the stage, right? When we look at Waldencast PLC, where we acquired Milk Makeup and Obagi Skincare, what we liked about these brands is they're already above a certain threshold. They play in categories that we love. So Obagi in skincare and derm-led skincare, which is a booming category within skincare. And Milk plays in clean Gen Z makeup, which is, again, another booming category within makeup, itself a big category. And both of them, we liked that they had an authentic community love. Milk is the Gen Z brand by excellence when it comes to makeup. And Obagi is the number one physician recommended brand. The awareness across the whole of, domestically in the US or globally is less relevant, because this is where we bring the scale of Waldencast to help them scale, quote unquote, right? So it's not about awareness, it's about the brand fundamentals. Do they play in the right category that is strategic to us? Do they have the right brand that is unique and different and looks like nothing else? And have they successfully built a community? And of course, the financial KPIs of, early days P&Ls and path to profitability, if not already profitable.
Okay. And what about a small brand that you think that there is something in a small brand that you identify as
what is small? What do we call small?
Like something like just started, like a few months in. Would you even consider a brand that is a few months in? In what stage you will consider a brand?
So I think a brand that is, I don't think you would consider acquiring a brand that is a few months in, because I would question, why would somebody want to sell a brand that just started a few months ago? So that's a big question mark. And especially in the early stage of the development of a brand, the founder's voice is very important, right? Because it often comes from a personal insight, observation. The biggest sponsor of the brand or ambassador is often in beauty, the founder, either directly in front of consumers or at least with key stakeholders, press, influencers, and so on. So I don't think you get acquisition at, the brand needs to be at double digits type of millions of revenue to be, I think, considered by most players. There's always exceptions, but I think you need to have a track record of at least concept success, and that you can have traction with the right consumers at the right unit economics that then can be scaled. I think what those early stages mostly for investment, right? And I think when you're a few months in or just starting, you look for early stage investment, which tends to be more angel investments, which are often, I would say, people that almost take a bet on a concept and on a founder, right? So that's what you see, because all
I'm so glad that you're clarifying this, because there is a lot of ideas out there. I will create this brand and it's going to be so great that they're going to want to buy it from me. And it's not something that it's going to happen from one day to the next. It's a process. And as a founder, you cannot think about an exit strategy. You need to start because you're passionate about what you're doing. And later on, if it comes to you that you want to sell it or you have an opportunity, but it's your baby as a brand. So you want to take it as far as you can.
Yeah.
So what other recommendations would you give an indie brand that they want to do things right and they want to go through this create that classic experience of having a brand and making it a brand, actually, not a collection, a brand, and to be there for generations and generations?
I think it's down to the motivation. I think you said it at the beginning, Lara, which is why. Why do you want to create a brand? You know, what needs, because a brand exists to answer a need in the market that is either emotional, functional, and ideally both. So if you are able to articulate why your brand needs to exist, that's already in one sentence. That's already a great. It's an exercise of discipline to see if I pitch it in one sentence. What's so special about your brand? And I think it's really having a clear concept of the brand they want to build today and tomorrow. You know, how it evolves over time, and the business plan to go with it. Because that's, you know, when you say I'm going to build a brand, it seems like a very creative process, and it is. But I think the discipline to write it in a piece of paper. Who is my target audience? What am I offering them as a benefit, functional and emotional? How am I going to talk to them to tell them about my benefits? Because consumers are not waiting out there for somebody to create brands. And how this whole model is going to make money. Because ultimately, when you try to build a business, you want to answer a consumer need, but you also want it to be successful from a financial.
It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And how in this ever-changing industry, because it's changing so fast and the trends are changing all the time. And today we're talking about mono ingredients, or we're talking about clean beauty, and those are like the keywords. And then one day, clean beauty is not a good word anymore. So how to create a strong brand with strong components that it will get over all this, or how you evolve as a brand, how flexible you can be or you should be in your brand?
I think it's all about the a brand is a point of view, right? And is a point of view that needs to be rooted on an authentic belief. So if you are trying, if my motivator is I'm going to start a brand, or what's trendy right now, clean mono ingredients, I'm going to do clean mono ingredients, I am most likely to fail, right? Because I am building it on no true conviction from my side, no true consumer insight. I'm just trying to ride a wave. The thing with trends is by the time you know them, they're probably already fading. You know, you have to be ahead of the trend if you have to be successful on a trend, right? Or create a trend. Now, I think the best way to create a brand is to be authentic to your DNA, your own DNA. What makes you want to create this brand? And this is truth, a consumer truth that's not going to change, right? When, I create, for example, Wind, which is one I can speak about. When we created it, we said, this is a brand about bottling the beauty of the golden hour. Essence and science of glow inspired by Moroccan rituals. This can exist today. It can exist in 50 years. It's not going to change. I can change how we talk about it, right? As the point of view of what glow means and what Morocco means and what science is. We can evolve it, as things have to evolve. But the reason for existing of the brand, which is representing or spotlighting a region of the world where there's a lot of beauty heritage, but very little focus so far, is not going to change. And it's true for the most successful beauty brands today. What made them successful 50 years ago in their brand statement, is still what they stand for today. Some of them might become less relevant because as the world evolves, and this is the macro trend, not the micro trend, right? We see the world of beauty that has evolved into a more diverse, inclusive, transparent way. So these are values that consumers want, but these are not the only values that you can build a brand on. You're not going to say, I'm going to build a brand to be transparent, because the expectation now is, yes, you have to be transparent. You have to be diverse, you have to be inclusive, you have to be whatever clean or whatever is the format. So these are functional elements that are macro trend that you can, some brands struggle to navigate old world and new world, but you don't build a brand just for that unless you are a category pioneer and you're the first one to create clean. So you use it as a marketing tool as well. I don't know if that answers the question.
I believe it does.
Okay.
It was very clear, and it's hard. It's hard to evolve as a brand. It's hard also when you have hero products that they've been there for so long, but at the same time, you need to evolve with the generations. You want, if the grandmother used it, there need to be a reasoning why the granddaughter will use it too.
Yeah, for sure. And you give a reason for people to discover it, and it's the same DNA that is reinvented. That's why it's the difference between a brand and campaigns. Campaigns to animate the brand. Those evolve every year, every couple of years, big ideas. But the essence of what the brand is, its reason for being created, cannot do like a 180. So that's the trickiness when you are managing big global brands and you see the need to evolve, but you have an existing strong fundamentals that you don't want to lose in the process. So how do you evolve without forgetting who you are, which is it's a much trickier challenge.
Absolutely. Hind, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Keep doing the incredible work that you're doing. It's not only that you bring beauty in the world, you're tied to stories, to legacies, and that's the beauty of branding, I believe.
Exactly. I love that. That's a great sentence to end on. Thank you so much for having me. I really loved the chat.
Me too. And to you guys, thank you for joining me one more time. And I'll see you again next week with more Coffee Number 5. It was so good to have you here today. See you next time. Catch you on the flip side. Ciao, ciao.